What if I told you that for the last 60 plus years, we haven't just misunderstood nuclear weapons, we've been looking at them all wrong? Today, we're diving into a really radical theory that says we've completely failed to see what the bomb has actually become.
Now, this sentence, it sounds a little cryptic, right? But it's actually the key to this entire idea. The theory we're exploring says that what we all call nuclear war isn't some terrible thing that might happen in the future. It's a permanent condition we're already living inside of, right now. So, what on earth does that mean?
Well, to really get this new idea, we first have to talk about the old one. You know, the picture of nuclear weapons that we all pretty much carry around in our heads. It's the story we've been told since 1945.
Yeah, this is the one we all know. We think of separate arsenals, right? The US has this many, Russia has that many. We count them, we compare them. We picture a leader somewhere with their finger on a button. Basically, we treat them like individual objects. A really, really dangerous problem that we can somehow manage with politics and military strategy.
Okay, but what if that whole picture of separate, manageable bombs is just a complete illusion? A dangerous idea left over from an era that doesn't exist anymore? And this is the absolute heart of the theory. The claim is that the real problem isn't a potential missile launch tomorrow. It's the permanent structure that all those missiles have created today. It's called an epistemological event, which is just a fancy way of saying that the bomb's existence has fundamentally changed or maybe even broken the way we can know things on a global scale. So this is the big shift. We go from seeing a collection of objects to seeing a single emergent structure. It's no longer just the sum of its parts. It's become one vast, interconnected system. And its behavior is driven by the whole thing, not by any one country or any one weapon. So, what do we call this single structure? Well, the theory gives it a name, and it's a big one: the nuclear singularity. And I know what you're thinking. That sounds like science fiction, right? Black holes and all that. But here, the term has a very specific and kind of chilling technical meaning.
In this context, a singularity is what happens when you just can't understand a system by breaking it down into its pieces anymore. The important stuff, the behavior that really matters, it emerges from the interaction of all the parts: the weapons, the satellites, the command protocols, the response times, all of it fused together into one thing. Here are a few great ways to picture it. You can't understand a traffic jam by just studying one car. The jam is a property of the whole system of cars. Or think about an ant colony. A single ant is pretty simple, but the colony as a whole does these incredibly complex things. The theory argues that the world's nuclear weapons have reached this point. They've become a system like that. And get this, the theory even pinpoints a year for when this happened: 1963. Why then? Well, that's supposedly the tipping point, the moment when massive H-bombs, super-fast ballistic missiles, and tightly linked command systems all came together and essentially fused. The weapons lost their separability. They stopped being independent objects and became one planetary-scale system. Okay, so let's just sit with that for a second. If the theory is right, and we are all living inside this giant, singular structure, what does that actually mean for us, for our world? Well, the consequences are, frankly, mind-bending. The first thing that goes out the window is detachment. There's no outside to look in from. We're all embedded within this system, which means any attempt to analyze it, to talk about it, heck, even to make an explainer like this, is already an act inside the system. You can't be a neutral observer of something you're a part of. This new reality just rewrites our whole dictionary. War isn't a political act anymore. It becomes a terminal event, the system basically shutting itself off. Security totally flips. It's no longer about having more missiles than the other guy. It's about trying to reduce the instability of the entire global system, to keep it from getting too jittery. Now, this might be the most counterintuitive idea in the whole theory. You know what we talk about the long piece? How we've avoided nuclear war since 1945 thanks to smart leaders and deterrence? Well, this theory asks a really uncomfortable question. What if that piece isn't proof of our control? What if it's actually a symptom of the system being paralyzed, a kind of epistemic paralysis, where no one can act because the consequences are literally too complex to calculate? So, as you can probably tell, this theory doesn't really offer any easy answers. Its purpose is much more fundamental than that. It's designed to make us throw out all our old questions and start asking completely new ones. There's this fantastic quote that just nails it. A huge amount of the nuclear debate starts to look like arguing about the paint color on a hurricane. I mean, what a perfect line. Once you see the entire global arsenal as one single, massive hurricane, arguing about how many missiles someone has feels, well, it feels absurd. You're missing the nature of the beast. So from this point of view, all those old debates, who owns what, which policy is safer, they're basically just distractions. They're a kind of theater that keeps our attention focused on the individual parts so that we never look up and see the single, fused system that we've actually built. And this is where the theory leaves us. It forces us to stop asking who's in control, because the terrifying answer might be no one. And instead, it makes us ask a much deeper, much more profound question. What is this structure that has emerged? And what does it demand from all of us, from our economies, our politics, or attention, just to keep itself going? It is a completely new and deeply unsettling way to see the bomb.